Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Hey. Yeah, I think everybody can hear me now. Sorry about that. I'm buying a new soundboard because this one has pretty much. I think I've had this soundboard for almost as long as the show's been on the air. I probably bought it 2 years after it started. So this is a 14-year-old Mackie soundboard. I got to tell you, Mackie makes great audio equipment, but there's a lot better stuff out there that has warmer sound, and I'm definitely going to make a purchase this week. Hopefully get it installed by next week. Pressing the button in when I clear my throat, and sometimes when it comes back out, it doesn't open both channels. And then people on the video, they say they can't hear me, but I'll keep an eye on these levels. Let's thank our title sponsor real quick, and that is Legendary Foods, makers of the tasty pastry. If you haven't tried it, you're missing out. Their packaging is newer and cooler. We'll have graphics pretty soon with their packaging, but what's inside has not changed. And that is the single best healthy snack you'll ever find, period, end of story. You'll stop eating protein bars if you try a tasty pastry. It started out to be the answer to a Pop-Tart, and it's become so much more because they taste so good. You'll eat them just because they taste good. And the fact that they have less than 1 gram of sugar, 20 grams of high-quality protein, and less than 4 to 5 net carbs will just make you happy that you found something you love. And I warn everybody about this. Your children will go through a box in a day if you allow them to, because they taste that good. And anybody who knows, you've tried to give one of your kids a protein bar, and they're like, oh, this sucks. I don't want it. It doesn't taste good. Not the case with the tasty pastry. If anything, that tells you how good it tastes. Because when your kids are willing to eat it, and not only eat it, but eat them all before you can, you know you have a winner. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary. Use the code SHR10 to save 10% off and fall in love with your new snack today. And now, without further delay, let me cue up the imagery here and then get his theme music to play and open up his microphone.
Calling all Blueprint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the Blueprint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish on the Superhuman Radio Network.
I'm watching levels. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing great. I hope you're warmer than we are. It's 12 degrees here in the Northeast, and it's going down to 4 tonight.
19.
No, not much better.
No. Yeah, there you go. And thank you very much, Darren R. on YouTube said there was no volume. That was when I started the show. I got to get a new soundboard. This one is had a day.
Yeah.
What's going on with you? What's new? What's exciting?
Well, two things actually. I just got a text from Muscle and Sports Science, bodybuilding supplements.com. If you are a Synthogen lover, the supplies are getting low. And as you know, that's no idle update, so to speak. When I say it, that's the truth. So if you want to get on that, great. Now's the time to do it. Otherwise, I wanted to remind folks and thank all of those people that have already given the Blueprint Bulletin special that we currently have running a chance. New year, new you, we're calling it. You can go to CoachRobRegish.com. There's no discount code or anything. You just click on it and, you know, everything will be pre-filled for you. What we're talking about is this. For $9.99, you are getting a 3-month subscription to the Blueprint Bulletin, full archive access, 112 plus issues, access to the ultimate blueprint, which is pretty much everything I've written on training and diet ever, you know, including almost every single book that I did individually. You'll also have access to 10 different special reports, cutting edge training techniques, current and future likely supplement info, diet, nutrition, and training tricks. Also, you'll be able to download a Blueprint Bulletin preview, sample issue, so you can see for yourself the type of information that we are talking about. And you can read a little bit about some of the transformations people have made with the information in the bulletin are just mind-blowing. I mean, you know, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, you know, this is definitely it. So again, CoachRobRegish.com, and just click on the New Year, New You special. You'll get all of that and more. Great stuff for $10. I mean, come on? How do you, for 3 months? How do you beat it?
For those of you who watch the show on LinkedIn, which is not many, we're going to get off LinkedIn. LinkedIn sucks. They keep taking us down and saying that we're violating their community standards. I think it's because we run commercials during the commercial breaks, and they don't like that. But we are going to be on Getter, GETTR, instead, which is a, let's just say, a nicer platform to work with. So, yeah, LinkedIn sucks. I don't even, you know, I get messages from LinkedIn all the time saying, oh, 50 people have looked at your profile today. I don't even care. I don't, you know what LinkedIn is? A bunch of self-promoting assholes who think they're experts at everything. And so they go on there and they're trying to look for jobs and look for business. I'm always getting spam where people want to sell me something on LinkedIn. Is a horrible. I mean, I know some people go there to find jobs, but surely you can go to any of the job websites and find jobs today. But LinkedIn is just crap.
I think a lot of those people are there looking for promotions, frankly. I mean, the sucking up is just incredible. If you
they're self-promoting assholes. Exactly.
Yeah, if you hang around for any amount of time, you realize what's going on.
And it's no wonder we have few viewers because none of them are thinking. They're all out there trying to promote themselves. It's a website of people selling something, and there's no buyers. It's just sellers. Everybody's selling. That's it. There's no buyers. We're gonna be off LinkedIn really fast. Yeah, this is interesting. Horn Frog says 100% agree with you about LinkedIn. Who bothers on LinkedIn? I guess if you're like you're trying to build your reputation as like I don't know, a social network marketer or something like that, you'll go on LinkedIn and post stuff, but nothing comes of it. Nothing comes of it.
I've never had a single potential employer say, "Hey, I saw your stuff on LinkedIn. I'm really impressed."
I know.
You know, who's going to put up stuff that isn't impressive on LinkedIn? Come on.
And there are so many good websites to get jobs today because just in case you don't realize it, we have so many more jobs than people willing to work right now because of this new socialist mentality. You know, I'm going to have to wait 5 months to buy the new heads for my motorcycle. Why? Because S&S Cycle up in Indianapolis, Indiana, can't find anybody to come in and run their aluminum casting machines. Like, are you kidding me? They pay good money. These are good jobs. These are very technical. I wouldn't be surprised if the guy who runs the aluminum casting machine and the CNC lathes get $50, $60, $75 an hour to do what they do, because these are skills. They
Yeah,
can't.
maybe.
Nobody wants to come to work. Nobody wants to show up for work.
Yeah, or they think it's beneath them. Which, God, listen, a job's a job. Sometimes it's nice just to have a paycheck.
So Clint CB said something I didn't know. He said LinkedIn is about stalking ex-work colleagues, ladder climbing, and self-promotion. People only befriend you to get access to your friends list.
Yeah.
Bunch of waste of time. Bunch of who wannabes. That's what it is. Go into the gym and lift some weights and forget about LinkedIn. How about that? There's my advice to the LinkedIn crew. Anyway, so we promoted the special.
Right.
Well, we're going to move on to the questions now. John Milley says, I understand you've been using body weight stuff for a while now. I have two, but am at the point where I want to start reintroducing free weights. What's the best way to do that?
Well, it's an insightful question, right? Because it could mean a lot of different things. And so first, I think we need to put a finer point on what reintroducing free weights really means. And that's important because nowhere have I been able to find any consensus on what that involves, especially when body weight training and only body weight training for the purists, right, was the norm. So for example, does that mean instead of dips, you now perform bench press? Or does it mean instead of dips, you now add weight to those dips, right? Combination. In my opinion, it encompasses both, but I strongly encourage you, if you're doing just body weight stuff now, I strongly encourage you to first reintroduce the ladder, meaning add weight to your body weight movements. Many people, and this is the reason, including me, made the mistake of pursuing endless reps on the primary body weight exercises. So your push-ups, your pull-ups, your dips, your chins, your handstand push-ups, your one-legged squats, all that stuff. People were getting into crazy, stupid high rep ranges, in my opinion. I don't mean like, 15 to 20. I'm talking, hey, can you build up to a set of 100? Well, I suppose you could, but the question is, what good is it going to do you? In my opinion, those folks would be much better off, and I know I was, adding weight earlier to those exercises and working in a lower rep range. Something, for me, it's 5 and under. For other people, it would be 10 and under. But, the question is this: at what point do you start that? And it's been my experience that once someone can perform, let's say, 10 perfect dips or chins or one-legged squats, at that point it behooves you to start adding weight. The exception may be for those folks that are looking to get bigger, like physically bigger, hypertrophy with body weight work, in which case you're going to need more volume, a lot more volume. But that's a different issue. As I've noted before, however, you show me someone who can do dips with 100 pounds, right, or more for reps, and I'm going to show you someone who can perform 20 reps with their body weight easily every time. Every time. Now, take someone, on the other hand, who can do 20 reps with body weight only, and then you hang 100 pounds off of their waist and ask them to do reps. Very few of them are going to be able to do it, even a single rep. The central nervous system just hasn't been greased to do that. So you end up getting good only at reps. The secret here, by the way, insofar as adding weight, can be something as simple as a 20-pound weight vest, and specifically look for the smallest sandbag increments that you can find. 1 pound increments are great to use, and the reason is that some advanced movements require just those tiny 1 pound additions. Things like handstand push-ups or one-arm chin-ups. Even 2.5 pounds is too much sometimes. Other movements like one-legged squats and one-legged stiff-legged deadlifts, for lack of a better term for it. In some circles, it's called drinking birds. But on those exercises, you can make bigger jumps. The only two truly free weight movements that I am performing and have performed since December 26th, 2020 are this: top range rack pulls and neck work. Now, concerning the former, there's nothing like it in the world of weights or body weight work that even comes close to everything that it offers. And to a person, everyone that I've recommended it to, who actually sticks with it and does it for a couple months, has come back to thank me. And if I haven't seen them in a while and they're approaching me from afar, I can tell you what they're going to say simply by looking at them, because their traps are usually up to their ears and they're bigger, harder, and leaner usually. And if you're dieting, by the way, to improve your body weight stuff, there's no better complement to that stuff than the top range rack pull. The direct neck work, I've always been a big believer in. I split it two ways. I have a neck harness here at home, and just hang plates from that. But I'm also lucky in that my gym has a 4-way neck machine, which it sits there totally unused, which blows my mind. The neck work may seem a little redundant when you're doing rack pulls, because again, your traps are going to just pop out like you've never seen before. But I've always trained the neck due to its many, many benefits. It's the single most undertrained, overlooked muscle in the gym, in my opinion. And de facto, it's the biggest opportunity you have weight-wise to set yourself apart. So that's my 2 cc's on body weight stuff and adding weight.
And body weight stuff is really very, very overlooked unnecessarily. The great stuff about body weight stuff is you can do it anytime, anywhere.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you have a vest and a chin-up bar and maybe a few other odds and ends, you have everything you need. You can get a complete workout at home. I still prefer to go to the gym for other reasons, but you do it anywhere, and it's economical. No gym membership needed.
So we got Gordon Keith. He says, Coach, I took advantage of the Blueprint Bulletin special. Greatest deal ever and best info since Dirty Dieting and the original Muscle Media 2000. Wow, that's a compliment.
That's a huge compliment. Thank you very much. I'm I'm glad to hear it, man.
And it's while we're in the throes of this love fest, I'm going to put this back up again. You can get 3 months for $9.99. Hold on, I got to do something here. Hold on, I have too many. We'll put that back up. You can get 3 months for $9.99 by going to I'm not. You could go to this URL as well, because we're tracking them. shrnetwork.biz/CoachRob, CoachRob. It just allows us to see who's coming through the show. That's all. But no matter how you get there, whether you go to CoachRobRegish.com or shrnetwork.biz/CoachRob.
Yeah, and
there. You don't need a code.
Right.
Nothing special. 3 months for under $10. It doesn't get any better than that.
And I appreciate that feedback. For all the hard work I put into it, it's worth it when I hear stuff like
years of work. Most people today, they sit home, they talk into a recorder, they turn it into text, they put it out as a book. Like over the weekend, and now we have a book, $9.95, for this and for that. This is like a decade's worth of work.
Yeah, that's a good point. It literally is over a decade's worth of work.
Yeah, a decade's worth of work. Okay, so now let me get back to the question at hand. I'm sorry. So Gordon Keith goes on to ask a question about GABA. He says, GABA post-workout with whey. Read the info in the Blueprint Bulletin. Doesn't GABA compete with the whey? I think he means compete with the whey. You're taking 5 grams of leucine with the whey and GABA. Compete for absorption. No, answer that first, and then he has another question. Okay.
Well, he's right. Absolutely. If you're taking a complete protein with the GABA, likely prevents it from crossing the blood-brain barrier. The reasoning, however, was based on a study that was done several years ago now, showing that I forget how much GABA, but when GABA was added to whey protein, for some reason, the gains in lean body mass were a lot greater.
I would have to challenge this notion that by putting a free-form amino acid in a whole protein, dairy-based protein powder, would somehow keep the free-form amino acid from being absorbed intact by itself first, which is contrary to everything we know from the studies on human breast milk.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So there are free-form amino acids in human breast milk that get through the lining of the baby's stomach and right into the bloodstream while waiting for the protein to start digesting. If that phenomenon didn't occur, then I would keep my mouth shut. But at the same time, that's what we did with Thrive. We put free-form amino acids in, essential amino acids in with the protein blend to get those amino acids into your bloodstream first. So I don't think that they're going to compete for one for another.
Well, if so, that much more reason to use it. My reasoning after looking at that was, God, GABA is so darn cheap, and you can use it at other points during the day. Why not? Right? Why not?
And GABA doesn't just raise growth hormone, folks. It affects thyroid hormone. GABA is a really interesting amino acid that we think it's a one-trick pony, but it's not. If you take too much GABA, it will actually cause you to become hyperthyroid for a while. Anything that affects the GABA receptors in the brain have pleiotropic effects on physiology. So, and then he goes on to say, would taking 5 grams of leucine with the whey and the GABA compete with absorption? Also, do EAA's pre and intra workout compete with GABA? I thought GABA needed to be at least 90 minutes to 3 hours of no protein, not to compete. I disagree with that whole notion. This idea that, look, free-form amino acids get through the lining of the stomach and do their job even if you take them with food.
Yeah, I always separated them just due to the past study showing that other large neutral amino acids competed. But, given that new information, perhaps not. I mean, I was always I'm going to do GABA right before the workout. I'm going to take my Synthogen EAAs during the workout, and I'm going to have my whey within a half hour post-workout. So, you hit all...
And keep in mind, those things are still in your stomach. Like this notion that, we take this now and it's all gone in a half hour.
Yeah.
If you haven't burped up green bell pepper 2.5 hours after you've eaten, then you don't realize that stuff sticks around in your stomach sometimes.
Yeah, and everybody's different. So, I think the point here is it is an inexpensive enough experiment to see if it works. Yeah. And there's data there showing that it might.
Next question comes from Rich Randolph. He says, you put forth some pretty strong opinions on the vaccine issues. I realize you're not a doctor, but also you rarely get sick. Why do you think some people get it and don't even know it, yet other people die? The disconnect is bothersome. I'll tell you exactly. Go ahead.
Well, all right, we've all got our opinions on this, and unfortunately, it's a hyper-charged issue. But the first thing I think people need to do, and is something that we can all agree on, is what he has done. He's paused here. He stopped and thinking. He's thinking about, what has been said, what has been claimed, what the reality is, what he's seeing and experiencing for himself. So the critical thought process is beneficial no matter whether you're pro or anti-vax. I always thought it was curious that the United States, we are told, has the best medical care in the world. If that's the case, why are so many people dying from COVID? Or are they? Why is the government scrambling to send 500 million test kits to people when they admit those same tests don't work at least 50% of the time? Now, let me ask you a question. Would you get on a plane that flies only about 50% of the time?
Yes, has successful flights.
And it crashes the other 50%. Would you get on that plane? Of course not.
Would you buy a condom that works 50% of the time?
Right.
No, I had this discussion with a guy this morning. We were talking about this. I said, if you used a condom and girl got pregnant, would you buy that condom again?
Right. They go. Hopefully, that company go out of business real fast. So, okay. So now let's talk about those people that are flooding hospitals right now, and the ones that are supposedly dying from COVID. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that people aren't dying, and that's a tragedy, no matter what it's from, right? But it's almost never due to COVID and only COVID. And note here, I am not just referring to COVID and other comorbidities or mortality, diabetes, obesity, COPD. I'm talking about remdesivir. Guess who bought up the world supply of remdesivir in 2020 and mandates it as one of the very few approved hospital treatments in the United States, and only the United States, for people that are admitted with COVID-19?
Who?
Guess who? God himself, Anthony Fauci.
No kidding.
How does remdesivir work? Well, it doesn't unless you consider mortality a successful outcome. Renal failure, liver failure, multiple organ failure, and worse have all been attributed to it. And that's what usually follows after it's administered. So are people dying? Yes, they absolutely are. But in virtually every case, or the vast majority, they're not dying from COVID and only COVID. They're dying in some cases, in a lot of cases, from the treatment that is prescribed for COVID. You go in the hospital, there's a very narrow treatment protocol that the doctors give, and they do not deviate from. Why? Because they've been told to lose their license. That's why. The only people that have been, the hospital that has given, let's say, ivermectin or something else that the family wanted to give them, are people that got a lawyer and had an order from a judge that the hospital do that. And oh, by the way, while that whole process is playing out, every minute counts for your loved one. If you don't believe me, I want you to talk to just about any ER nurse. Nurses are usually the ones that really know what's going on.
That's the truth.
They got a little nickname for remdesivir. Remdesivir. Let me put it this way to you. Recently, a very good friend of mine's dad had to visit the ER. He had a stroke, mild stroke. And as part of that process, as you know, all new patients are tested for COVID. This friend's wife has been a frontline nurse for over 20 years, easily, probably closer to 30. Basically, her entire adult life. She told everyone in the family that would listen, if they diagnose him with COVID, this is the plan to get him out of there, to spring him. And why? Because she knew what was going to come next. And she was willing, God bless her, to stick her neck out for her family. Okay? So yeah, look, you're right. I'm not a doctor, but I'm no fool either. People are dying, and in many cases anyway, they're dying due to gross negligence on the part of the administration, the FDA, the CDC, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and Big Pharma, who's profiting from all this fear-mongering and panic. Look, don't do anything stupid. Don't go to COVID parties. Don't start licking doorknobs. Don't use some common sense. But don't believe everything they tell you either, because the power to live or die really is in your hands and not theirs. And that is the real scary part to me of this pandemic. Who do I believe when I'm making life and death decisions? Look it up. Look who bought all the remdesivir.
I just looked up remdesivir and Fauci. So there's an equal number of websites that say it's not true as it is true. I don't have time to read through them at this point in time. But what I will tell you about your ability to survive this, if you do get it, we've talked about 3 really good studies on this show that we talk about comorbidities and obesity, but obesity is just the outward manifestation of somebody who is insulin resistant. And blood sugar is the big predictor. If you get COVID and you're somebody who's pre-diabetic or diabetic, your symptoms are going to be a lot worse and you may die from it. In reality, what the hospital should be doing when they do the intake is they should look at your blood sugar and either give you short-acting insulin or put you on metformin to lower your blood sugar. Because we talked about a study on this show over a month ago. Maybe maybe it was December or November, that a study that looked at patients being admitted into emergency rooms with COVID with mild to moderate symptoms upon entry into the emergency room. And they were triaged and they were followed, and some of them got sicker faster. Their symptoms were horrible. And those also were the people who died. And the people who were introduced to the ER, at the ER, who had normal blood sugar levels, they had less severe symptoms and were sent home. The people who were admitted to the ER, who had pre-diabetic and even full-blown diabetic blood sugar levels, were admitted to the hospital. Their symptoms got worse faster and they died. So if there's one thing that we can focus on, and I've been talking about this for a while, and nobody's talking about this, and I'm sure someone's going to start talking about it eventually. If you are somebody who's pre-diabetic or if you don't know your blood sugar levels, you better learn your blood sugar levels if you're afraid of COVID, and get your blood sugar levels under control now. Because if you get sick and you are pre-diabetic, you are going to probably get really sick, maybe have to be put on a ventilator, and maybe die.
You mean even if you're vaccinated?
Yeah. So the study shows that blood sugar levels upon entry to the ER was a greater indicator of how you were going to fare with COVID than vaccination status. Now, this is simple shit, folks. If you have high blood sugar, get it under control now. Don't focus on your weight. Focus on your blood sugar. Your weight will change. Your body weight will change if you focus on your blood sugar.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. You know, this last lie that they seem to be hanging on to is well, if you're vaccinated, your symptoms won't be that bad and you can't die from it.
But we don't see that. We see people in the hospitals with horrible symptoms who are vaccinated. We see people dying who are vaccinated. And we see people dying from the vaccine. So, like, pick which way you want to go. I'd rather go fighting and having my immune system do the job than dying from a vaccine. And, oh, by the way, there's emerging research that shows that if you've been vaccinated and you get COVID, your symptoms are worse. Not like they're telling you, oh, well, your symptoms won't be as bad. Your symptoms are worse.
Yeah, that'll be hushed up.
And we'll hear about that a year from now.
Right, exactly.
All right, look, we're going to take a quick commercial break. I'm sorry, Rob, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, and you'll understand why later in the show, why you won't hear about it today, but you will years from now.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Stay tuned. Don't forget, post your questions live, and we'll get them answered. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio. I would easily say that I am the hugest proponent you will ever meet to doing anything that will improve the quality of my sleep. And that's because sleep is linked to just about every metabolic disorder we see in our population today. One of the easiest things you can do to improve the quality of your sleep is to get a pillow that can be shaped into the exact form factor that allows you to get your best night's sleep. And that is MyPillow. I've been sleeping with MyPillow for a few years now, and I can tell you that when I have to travel and stay in hotels, I don't get a good night's sleep because I don't have MyPillow with me. Right now, you can save up to 60% off of everything offered to improve the quality of your sleep at shrnetwork.biz/mypillow when you use the code SHR. Or you can call toll-free 889-4938. And remember to use code SHR to save up to 60% off of everything at their website. Verso contains potent compounds proven to increase NAD+. NAD+ is arguably the most important molecule in the body, and without it, you would die in less than 30 seconds. It's responsible for a number of physiological processes, one being that it guides longevity genes called sirtuins to direct cells in the body to perform their jobs. NAD+ levels drop with age, and when they're low, there isn't enough to guide sirtuins, so your cells start to break down. This explains why the body ages and consequently wrinkles appear. There is less benefit to exercise, it takes longer to recover, and an older body is not resilient like a young body. Start reversing biological age now. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Verso and use the code SHR for 20% off plus free shipping on your bottle of Verso today. C60, also known as Buckminster fullerene, is the most powerful, most versatile antioxidant in the world. It's been shown in studies to double the lifespan of rodents. We all know the importance of taking antioxidants to slow aging, reduce inflammation, and improve mitochondrial function and energy production. But there are literally hundreds of antioxidants that would cost you thousands of dollars to take every day. I take one. I take C60 from C360 Health. Revive and Rejuvenate are two blends that harness the power of C60. Don't waste another minute. Go to shrnetwork.biz/revive and use the code SHR for 15% off and free shipping inside the United States today. If you've listened to Superhuman Radio for any length of time, you know I'm a big proponent of peptides. One of my favorites is GHKCU, the blue copper peptide. It has the ability to repair and regenerate more youthful expression of skin cells, reversing the signs of aging. Restore Cell's Stem Cell Awakening Serum, along with their other products, contains potent formulations of blue copper peptides and only the highest quality organic ingredients. Superhuman Radio listeners can now save 25% site-wide. Go to shrnetwork.biz/blue and use the code SHR25. Remodel your skin today. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today. The holidays are over and it's time to set your eyes on new goals for the new year. In the thick of winter and sick season, it's more important than ever to support your immune system so that you are strong, healthy, and able to tackle your 2022 goals. Did you know that one of the biggest ways you can boost your immunity is by supporting your gut health? It's true. In fact, 70% of your immune system is in your gut. That's why it's time to get Biome Breakthrough. Biome Breakthrough has powerful probiotics, prebiotics, as well as a one-of-a-kind ingredient called IGY Max. IGY Max is a patented egg-based protein that enhances gut health, reverses damage caused by antibiotics, and even helps with immunity threats. By taking Biome Breakthrough daily, you'll eliminate bad bacteria, feed good bacteria, build up your immunity, and repair your gut lining all at the same time. Go to shrnetwork.biz/biome and use code SHR for 10% off and get a full year, no questions asked, satisfaction guarantee.
This is the Superhuman Channel, doing reps with the weight of the world.
Welcome back. Hey, Rob, I got to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of antioxidants?
Big fan, as you know. Have been since my 20s.
If you could take one antioxidant that was 470 times more effective than all the other antioxidants you could take, and was shown in 2 studies to prolong the lifespan of rodents by 100%. In other words, the group that got the antioxidant lived twice as long as the group that didn't. Would that interest you?
It sure would. It interests me so much. I've written about it.
So you've written about C60, right?
I've written about C60 and I've used it. And unless something has changed, it also has the benefit of sticking around a long time in the body.
Yes.
So it isn't necessarily you got to use it all day, every day. In some cases, I think I read research where it's up to 6 to 12 months after the last dose.
Right.
So, which is really astounding. And when you read about it, you'll see it's also known by the funny name of buckyballs. because of its molecular structure, but it's a really cool antioxidant, and yes, absolutely, it's something that people need to know about.
Buckminster fullerene was the original name of it,
Right.
and that's because it was discovered by a guy who was at Ohio State, and the dome there at the school was shaped like half of. It's like it's shaped like a soccer ball, and so that's where the Bucky came in. Bucky, Buckeyes, all that sort of stuff. But interesting, we'll be talking about it today on the second hour of today's show because we now have a sponsor that not only has a C60 supplement, but has combined it with several enzymes and other things that make it even more effective at reducing inflammation dramatically. I've been using it,
Yep.
and I got to tell you something, man.
You feel
it. So I trained back yesterday, and I had no intentions of training legs today. I was going to take off, but I woke up this morning and I felt like I could train legs, and I had an amazing leg session today. And the only thing I've changed is I've been taking this stuff every day.
That's incredible, and it's great because at least when I wrote about it way back when, finding a quality version of it was very difficult. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was none to be found in the United States at the time. You had to order from an overseas source that I found.
You're going to learn about Rejuvenate and Revive today when Dan Ben Simon joins us from C360 Health. Very fascinating stuff. Okay, let's get on to the next question. Do you want to take a question from the audience? You want to go on to the next mail-in question?
Let's take an audience question.
So this one comes from Clint CB. He says, what are your thoughts on top range squats as shown on Testosterone Nation? It essentially involves loading up the bar with 3 to 4 times what you could normally complete in a full range of motion squat, but you are only completing the last quarter of the movement, which is normally the easiest. Is this good? Is it bad for faster strength gains? Hope this makes sense.
I'm familiar with it. Yes, I've tried it. I do not care for it nearly as much as the top range rack pull for a multitude of reasons. In effect, it's like any other strong range work. Most people, the vast majority, will get stronger, yes, but only about plus or minus 5 degrees either way, from that range that you're training in. It takes a lot of discipline. There are other ways of expanding that as you get stronger, such as suspending the bar from chain links, which you can lower progressively. The 2-inch spacing between the holes on most power racks is just too much, and you'll find that out the hard way if you try to jump from you lower it 1 week and then it feels like a ton of bricks. It has its benefits. I just don't think they nearly approach the top range rack pull.
And the top range rack pull gives you a lot of the benefits of the top range squat, but so much more.
Right, because and this is an important point. I'm glad you brought it up. I always tell people, when you set that bar up, yes, make it just the top inch or so of the lift, but do it understanding that you want to get your legs into the movement. Before you start to pull that bar up, you definitely want to break your knees and get the legs into it. And you will feel it not only there, but also everywhere from the back of your neck down to your Achilles tendon and the front of your body.
Your grip, your shoulders, your biceps, everything you'll feel. I personally think the top range rack pull is a better choice, personally.
Yeah.
Katrina Miller, who is watching live on Facebook when we were talking about COVID, she says, everybody I know has COVID has had the vaccine. I haven't had the vaccine, and we're just fine. And that's what a lot of people are finding out. So.
Same thing with the flu vaccine, in my experience. The only people I know who got the flu are people who got the shot.
Well, and people are still saying that there's no flu this year.
Again, huh?
And so when you say to them, doesn't that seem suspicious to you that COVID arrived and the flu disappeared? And they said, well, it's because we're wearing masks. And then I say, but the mask doesn't protect us from getting COVID. How can it protect? See, this is where people, they lose credibility with me when logic doesn't kick in and they go, wait a minute, you're right. if the mask is stopping people from getting the flu, then why aren't we seeing a complete cessation of the spread of COVID if everybody's wearing a mask? They immediately go into tribal thought. Well, my boss, Mr. Fauci, said, it's like, no, think for yourself just for a minute. Make believe it's the end of the world, and you have to make a decision if the world's going to end or not. Are you going to go ahead and keep going down this path of failure, or are you going to say, you know what, I kind of think I might have been wrong. Let me relook at this. Why is it so fucking hard for people to do that?
I don't know. House of Cards has started, and it's going to fall hard and fast. Mark my words. It's already happening.
Aaron McDill says, simple question. What supplements do you feel are the most overrated?
Great question. I had a lot of time to think about this, and I'm sure there are others, and I'm open to people's suggestions. But for my money, ginger, selenium, magnesium, copper, and quercetin. So let's take ginger first. It seems all people hear about is curcumin and all the wonderful things it does. And rightfully so, right? It has tons and tons of research behind it. It does so many great things, but bioavailability is an issue. Whether people are aware of that or not, but there are a lot of people that go to Walmart that pick up a bottle of curcumin and just curcumin. There's nothing there to improve bioavailability. Well, it's not going to do all those wonderful things. And so many of the general public aren't aware of it. They don't know any better, and they wind up getting almost nothing out of it. On the other hand, 1 to 1.5 grams of ginger a day, ideally an extract standardized for 5% gingerols, is the single most cost-effective preventative medicine anyone can use, in my opinion. And that's a huge statement, okay? But, believe me, if you've ever handled the bulk powder, you know part of the reason why. It is potent stuff. Your nose doesn't even need to get close to it to experience that. And likely it'll register there first. And then if you dare to wet the tip of your finger and put a little on the tip of your tongue, it's going to further convince you of its potency. Way back when, Syntrax had a product called MM4, metabolic modifier for it. Among other things, it contained both gingerols and shogols, which you'll read about if you delve into the research and the literature. Now, that was around 20 years ago. It was a great formula. I used it, but it was discontinued. However, I have to credit you, Carl, credit where credit's due, for reminding me and steering me towards using it for my wife's skin cancer. It literally disappeared after applying it to her leg topically. And I don't mean it took a long time. I mean, I don't think it took a week. And I remember she removed the bandage and she looked at it and she said, "Oh my God, where is it?" And so we were dumbfounded. And but that's just one example.
I don't think people believe me when I tell them that there's a host of research coming out of China that's decades old that shows that applying ginger extract with a minimum of 5% gingerol concentrated directly to skin cancer makes it go away. They proved this in numerous studies with rodents. And whenever I tell people that have skin cancer, like, oh, I'm going in, they got to do the biopsy. They're saying they're gonna have to cut all this out and cut all. I say, before you go in, there's a guy on eBay. He has 25% gingerol, highly concentrated. I mean, this stuff is spicy. You take that, you put it on a bandage, the powder, you put some water on it, make a poultice out of it, put it directly on the skin cancer that your doctor says he's going to biopsy in a couple days. And you do that. You change the bandage every other day or every day if you want, and watch what happens in a week or two. The cancer is gone. And no one wants to believe me when I've had, literally in 16 years, I've had thousands of people try this and go, I can't believe it. Like, why didn't my doctor tell me to do that? Well, there's no money in you getting rid of your cancer on your own.
Right. And a big part of the problem, I think, is, it's ginger. Ginger isn't exotic. It doesn't have a great, this big story behind it. It's ginger, right? I mean, people walk by it almost every week on the supermarket shelves.
They don't think
Don't,
anything of it.
yeah, don't underestimate it. And please, it's cheap too, for everything it does. Are you kidding?
But
You
do
know,
your best to get organic, because ginger is a heavily sprayed crop in many of the countries, India, where they grow it. So do your best to get an organic ginger extract if you can find it. And the guy on eBay, his is not only a 25% ginger rolls, but it's also organic.
great.
Ginger's magic. You know what? My brother-in-law had a 3 centimeter mass in his stomach. He had a port put in his stomach. He was ready for chemotherapy. He also had the lymph nodes in his throat called the ring of larynx. They were showing cancer. I had him take 6 grams of ginger extract 3 times a day on an empty stomach. And when we went back to the Tucson cancer clinic that he was at, and they did the last CT scan with radioisotope glucose, they couldn't find the mass in his stomach anymore. That was an opportunity because you're putting the ginger extract right on the cancer, like you're doing with your skin. You're swallowing it; it's in your stomach. But even the lymph nodes that they deemed cancerous were normal. And I said to the oncologist, I said, "How many times have you seen this?" He said, "What?" I said, "The cancer go away like that." He goes, "Oh, it always goes away after chemo." I says, "No, no, no, no. How many times have you seen it go away before chemo?" And he goes, "Never." And he's an oncologist for over 20 years, by the way. I said, "You want to know what we did?" He goes, "Yeah, sure." As soon as I said ginger extract, he put his hand up. He says, "Look, if you think that worked for you, good." He didn't even want to hear it.
Hey, I know, you'd think he'd be the guy that would want to hear it. Geez, that's
No,
terrible.
no, it's big business in cancer. They don't want you to get better. They want you to suffer the standard of care.
Yeah. So anyway, ginger, top of the list. Look into it. Secondly, selenium. It's often lost in the mix when discussing antioxidants, but one read through the literature on it should put it back on your radar. And the reason is this: it's what I call the key or permissive antioxidant. And reason being is when it's in the mix, everything either works better, or in some cases, if it isn't in the mix, certain other antioxidants won't work at all. 200 micrograms a day, is what to shoot for. It's dirt cheap. And it's overlooked. Magnesium, it's discussed and recommended plenty, but it's hard to get guys to consistently use it. A lot of times because their money's going into other places, and the other things are more exotic. Women, on the other hand, it's much easier to get them to use a good magnesium consistently. Why? 2 words: leg cramps, right? Or muscle cramps in general. A good magnesium will resolve those cramps in minutes. And it's a damn good thing, because I got to tell you, some of these cramping episodes are scary. In fact, the scariest health episode I've ever seen my wife have, or anyone have, I was that close to calling 911 once for my wife. Her leg cramps were that severe, and she was in that much pain. Magnesium saved the day. Otherwise, I'm sure you've heard it a million times, involved in over 300 different enzymatic reactions, which should underscore its importance. Some estimates, and I believe them 100%, show that up to 80% of North Americans are deficient. And that number's only going up as the land gets over-farmed and we eat lousier and lousier food. Now, we get to copper, another Carl I have to give you credit for. Outside of a very few good multivitamins that I've seen and some other formulas, you rarely hear copper discussed. And that's a problem, because when people, particularly men, that take zinc, let's say, frequently, and from what I've seen, many people are taking more in the hopes of increasing immune function these days. The problem is this: it displaces copper, too much zinc displaces copper, and it's very important for cardiovascular health, having the ability to reduce arterial plaque and improve blood flow. Think about that. A few milligrams, right? A speck of copper in the mix has the potential to do that. I would even tell you, if you are unhappy with your score on the calcium screen, which I've talked about before, it measures, you know, the blockages if you have them in arteries and how bad they are. If you're unhappy with that score, and anything above 0 should leave you unhappy, in my opinion, that would be at the top of my list, along with what is it? Melanotan 2 also does a rotor-rooter job on your arteries. But copper is way, way overlooked. And then finally, quercetin. Quercetin is really racking up some impressive studies in the literature. And it's weird because quercetin, I always looked at it, and a lot of people did for the longest time, as, yeah, quercetin, it looks like it's good stuff. It looks like, it might do things, but your body doesn't absorb it. And that's true. It is difficult for your body to absorb. However, paradoxically, it actually improves the absorption of many other compounds. And quercetin itself, it turns out, can be regenerated when co-ingested with other nutraceuticals. 2 new studies also show it does more, much more than anyone ever realized. You have to use it with other things, but those other things are so common and so cheap, it's nothing. But the data is, in a word, stunning. And so I'm going to tease you a little bit with that. That's going to be in the bulletin next month, and you're going to get all the details forthcoming in the February issue. Trust me, the information on quercetin that's coming, you are not going to want to miss. It really is great stuff and overlooked.
So we have one real quick question, short answer, because we have to take this break because Dan Ben Simon is in the green room and we got to get him on to talk about C60.
Yep.
Tommy D wants to know if you don't have, as an alternate to the top range rack pull when equipment isn't available, what are your thoughts on performing pulls on an isometric device?
My thoughts are that it's a viable alternative. The problem with most of those devices up until recently has been it's hard to quantify, right? What your results are, or how much force, better stated, that you are generating. The old ones were nothing more than a platform and a chain, all right, and a handle that you pulled on, and pulled and pulled and pulled. Some of the newer ones, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Coach Paul Wade, the man who authored Convict Conditioning, has an isometric device that's been refined now and is pretty sharp for what it is. And I would tell you, if you're using something like that, then yeah, it would probably be an excellent alternative, especially if you got no rack, right, and no
does his isometric device actually move a little bit? Does it give? Or is it stationary, static?
The last time I looked at it, it appeared to be static.
Because why couldn't you just take 2 scales, right, that you weigh yourself with, put one under each foot, and do the isometric pull, and then look at the weight and see how much you're pulling, how much force you're generating?
That's an interesting proposition. I hadn't even considered that. That might be a possibility. These things, though, in the past, they were very, poorly constructed. They were not for individuals that would be listening to this program that can exert that amount of strength. And when you get advanced, you should be pulling 900, 1,000 pounds. It's not out of the question.
Right.
And if you have a device that can register that, more power to you.
Yeah, I think you should try that, Tommy D. I think you should get 2 scales, go out and buy 2 cheap bathroom scales, put one under your left foot, one under your right foot, and then grab the stationary bar and pull everything you got. And remember to look down and see what the weight of the 2 scales are.
Do that for 6 weeks. You'll know.
And then subtract your weight, your body weight from that, and that's what you're pulling.
Yeah, interesting.
I think it'll peter out. I think most of us would bottom those scales out immediately. I know I would. So anyway, all right, let's take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we have the blueprint tip of the day. Then we're going to be joined by Dan Ben Simon to talk about the single best antioxidant in the world that you are probably not taking. I am, and you should too. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High-quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/whiteoak and use the code SUPERHUMAN to save 10% off your entire first order. I would easily say that I am the hugest proponent you will ever meet to doing anything that will improve the quality of my sleep. And that's because sleep is linked to just about every metabolic disorder we see in our population today. One of the easiest things you can do to improve the quality of your sleep is to get a pillow that can be shaped into the exact form factor that allows you to get your best night's sleep. And that is MyPillow. I've been sleeping with MyPillow for a few years now, and I can tell you that when I have to travel and stay in hotels, I don't get a good night's sleep because I don't have MyPillow with me. Right now, you can save up to 60% off of everything offered to improve the quality of your sleep at shrnetwork.biz/MyPillow when you use the code SHR. Or you can call toll-free 800-889-4938. And remember to use code SHR to save up to 60% off of everything at their website. If you've listened to this show for any length of time, you know that I have struggled to give up coffee for years. Coffee has destroyed my gut and it's impaired my health. Well, I haven't had coffee in months thanks to a product called Magic Mind. Magic Mind is the first nootropic blend I actually feel working. One shot and I'm good all day long. My memory is crystal clear and I'm able to function and have great focus without coffee or caffeine for that matter. If you want to try a product that really works, if you're like me and you want to give up coffee forever, or you just need something occasionally that will help you lift the brain fog, Magic Mind is your product. I promise you that this product you will feel when you use it. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Magic Mind, all one word, and use the code SHR for a whopping 20% off your first order. Verso contains potent compounds proven to increase NAD+. NAD+ is arguably the most important molecule in the body, and without it, you would die in less than 30 seconds. It's responsible for a number of physiological processes, one being that it guides longevity genes called sirtuins to direct cells in the body to perform their jobs. NAD+ levels drop with age, and when they're low, there isn't enough to guide sirtuins, so your cells start to break down. This explains why the body ages and consequently wrinkles appear. There is less benefit to exercise. It takes longer to recover, and an older body is not resilient like a young body. Start reversing biological age now. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Verso and use the code SHR for 20% off plus free shipping on your bottle of Verso today.
Dogs should be powered by fat and protein, not carbs. That's why Visionary Pet makes low-carb, ketogenic dog food for dogs of all breeds and life stages. From kibble to freeze-dried and even low-carb treats, all Visionary Pet recipes are very low-carb, ketogenic, and made with 100% real meat protein. Shop now and use code SHR for 20% off your first order today. Your dog deserves the lifelong benefits of optimal nutrition. Make the switch to Visionary and see why smart dogs eat low-carb.
Move over, superheroes. This is the Superhuman Channel.
If you understand the importance of antioxidants, you're going to want to stick around for the next segment. I promise you. Okay, Coach, what is the blueprint tip of the day?
Well, you can call this one Why Personal Responsibility Rocks and Why Depending Upon Others, especially the government, doesn't. There's a big divide in our country right now between people who think government is going to take care of them, or they want government to take care of them, and people that take responsibility for themselves and their families and the other people around them. This issue is no small matter. The decision you make on who to rely on in times of crisis, either yourself or the government or someone else, is literally going to mean life or death, not just for you, but quite possibly for the ones that you love. So let's look at the pros and cons of each. People who want more government in their lives believe that government knows best. And some even believe the government really cares about them. That is particularly true when it comes to their health. The most precious asset, right, any of us has. The pros for these people outweigh the cons, so it's important to understand what they are. The biggest pro for them is this: they can just offload all responsibility for their health and other matters to somebody else. Let them deal with it. There's no thinking involved, certainly no critical thinking. All that is someone else's job now. And at that point, it's simple. They just follow orders because eventually they have no other choice. I also noticed something else about these folks. They're scared. They're scared to make decisions about their own health, perhaps worrying that, they might be wrong, okay? Or they've been taught from an early age that they somehow don't have that authority, the authority to make decisions about their own health. Instead, it's got to be some expert, right? It's got to be a doctor, a scientist, a high-ranking political or community leader. It can't possibly be them, anyone but them. That way, they take comfort in this. That way, if something goes wrong, they can do something that usually goes hand in hand with counting on other people. It's called blaming others when anything goes wrong. After all, how can anything be their fault? They gave responsibility away. Conversely, you've got people that do take responsibility, and in particular, the people that are listening, they take responsibility for their health. They understand that you have to put the work in to build a healthy body because nobody else is going to do it for you. And no, it's you can't just get a few shots and all of a sudden be in good health. It doesn't work like that. They don't necessarily shun medical care. People that take responsibility, but they don't believe doctors are gods either. If something doesn't look or feel right, they ask questions. They seek the input of others. They get second opinions. They read. And I'm not just talking about newspapers or today's so-called, journalistic websites. They're reading, in some cases, medical studies, and it's not hard. I mean, you don't have to be a doctor to get the gist of most abstracts. These people also are dangerous. Why? Because they question their government, which frequently prevents things like the following. Just yesterday, the director of the CDC admitted up to 40% of reported COVID hospitalizations aren't actually due to COVID. CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky admitted up to 40% of previously reported COVID hospital admissions were due to other medical conditions, unrelated, totally unrelated to COVID. Now, upon hearing this, even CNN, who normally covers for these people, even they sounded the alarm bell, right? Jake Tapper supposedly just now realized that he's been lied to for 2 years straight. Look, this came as no surprise to those of us that have been paying attention. Yet, had you questioned the government's narrative at any point during these past 2 years, you were labeled a conspiracy theorist, an anti-vaxxer, a Trumper. right? You were labeled all those things. And you were considered dangerous. And I still believe that's the case. When it becomes apparent you might not see things their way, then it's always one of the following: temper tantrums, bullying, and censoring. If none of the others work, they censor your opinion. To them, censoring free speech, to them, that is acceptable behavior under the premise that, oh, you're spewing misinformation. No, you were the ones for 2 years spewing misinformation. And so those kind of people, and this blows my mind, but they frequently get their medical advice from from their favorite political party, from TV, or let's say the CDC. Most of them don't even realize the CDC is the government, and de facto heavily influenced by the ruling political party's minions that work there. Now, you would think the .gov extension on the web address would give it away, but as ridiculous as it sounds, it's true. If the CDC director got on TV tomorrow and said 100,000 children were hospitalized from COVID and many of them are on ventilators, they would believe it. No questions asked. Of course, one of their Supreme Court justices did just that days ago. And thank God somebody fact-checked it. The real figure? Maybe 3,500. Here's something else. When you rely on the government to make decisions for you, you give away all control over what they will do for you, or not, as the case may be. Instead of early intervention, when the virus is busy in its first phase replicating, you're told to go home and wait. And wait for what? To turn blue? You know? Funny, isn't it? We're told we have the best medical care in the world, but we have the most deaths. So those folks are some of the consequences of relying on the government, or anyone else for that matter, versus thinking and acting for yourself. So as the new year dawns, I would encourage you to resolve to be one of the responsible folks, the ones who take ownership for their health, the ones who read, the ones who observe, and the ones who act decisively. You will undoubtedly be better off for it.
And the word for 2022 should be resourcefulness. Because what I notice about a lot of young people today is they are not resourceful. If faced with the problem, instead of trying to figure out how to solve the problem themselves, they go to someone else and ask for help. And granted, everybody has to ask for help from time to time, but you should only be asking for help after you have done everything and exhausted every opportunity to figure out and solve the problem yourself. Right. Resourcefulness has been lost in this population today.
Amen. All right, let's hear about C60. I'm excited.
You're gonna stand by. Okay, good.
Yeah,
this is gonna be good. All right, Rob. Thanks a lot for everything, all the heavy lifting, and we'll see you next week. Okay, brother.
Thank you. You too. Bye bye.
All right, we're gonna take one quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by Dan Ben Simon. Stay tuned. Uh-oh, did I lose audio? Stay tuned. We'll be right back. If you've listened to Superhuman Radio for any length of time, you know I'm a big proponent of peptides. One of my favorites is GHK-Cu, the blue copper peptide. It has the ability to repair and regenerate more youthful expression of skin cells, reversing the signs of aging. Restore Cell's Stem Cell Awakening Serum, along with their other products, contains potent formulations of blue copper peptides and only the highest quality organic ingredients. Superhuman Radio listeners can now save 25% site-wide. Go to shrnetwork.biz/blue and use the code SHR25. Remodel your skin today.
Dogs should be powered by fat and protein, not carbs. That's why Visionary Pet makes low-carb, ketogenic dog food for dogs of all breeds and life stages. From kibble to freeze-dried and even low-carb treats, all Visionary Pet recipes are very low-carb, ketogenic, and made with 100% real meat protein. Shop now and use code SHR for 20% off your first order today. Your dog deserves the lifelong benefits of optimal nutrition. Make the switch to Visionary and see why smart dogs eat low carb.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
The holidays are over and it's time to set your eyes on new goals for the new year. In the thick of winter and sick season, it's more important than ever to support your immune system so that you are strong, healthy, and able to tackle your 2022 goals. Did you know that one of the biggest ways you can boost your immunity is by supporting your gut health? It's true. In fact, 70% of your immune system is in your gut. That's why it's time to get Biome Breakthrough. Biome Breakthrough has powerful probiotics, prebiotics, as well as a one-of-a-kind ingredient called IGY Max. IGY Max is a patented egg-based protein that enhances gut health, reverses damage caused by antibiotics, and even helps with immunity threats. By taking Biome Breakthrough daily, you'll eliminate bad bacteria, feed good bacteria, build up your immunity, and repair your gut lining all at the same time. Go to shrnetwork.biz/biome and use code SHR for 10% off and get a full year, no questions asked satisfaction guarantee. Have you been struggling to achieve results in the gym? Trouble sleeping through the night? Overwhelmed with stress or anxiety? Look no further than Infiniwell supplements. They have designed products to address specific needs like muscle growth, hormone balance, sleep, and anxiety from the first use. Infiniwell helps you live well. Go to shrnetwork.biz/bewell, that's BEWELL, and use code SHR20 and start living well today. C60, also known as Buckminster fullerene, is the most powerful, most versatile antioxidant in the world. It's been shown in studies to double the lifespan of rodents. We all know the importance of taking antioxidants to slow aging, reduce inflammation, and improve mitochondrial function and energy production. But there are literally hundreds of antioxidants that would cost you thousands of dollars to take every day. I take one. I take C60 from C360 Health. Revive and Rejuvenate are two blends that harness the power of C60. Don't waste another minute. Go to shrnetwork.biz/revive and use the code SHR for 15% off and free shipping inside the United States today.
This is the Superhuman Channel. Evolution just got kicked up a notch.
Welcome back. We're joined by Dan Ben Simon. We're going to learn about C360, the company, but also C60, the antioxidant. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Glad to be here.
So let's start from the very beginning. Why the name Buckminster fullerene and how was C60 discovered?
Well, C60 was actually discovered by three scientists in the 80s. And they discovered that it was the strongest carbon molecule that you could find. And they tried to do a lot of tests with it, but they got a Nobel Prize for finding the strongest carbon molecule that they had. That carbon molecule has since been studied a lot and has been found to have been everywhere, anywhere where there's a lot of heat and so forth that creates the carbon molecule. NASA, even in the 2010s, recognized that C60 was in space, and they could identify it by the color when they were viewing supernovas. And many people believe from NASA that C60 has been here since the Big Bang. We in this country and in this world have been exposed to C60 many times prior to all this explosion about C60 through cooking, heating stuff, anything that you were using a carbon-based stuff to cook over, like wood or so forth. You would create some C60 and it would go in your food. Or also when you have volcanic explosions, there's a lot of C60 that goes up in the air. And when you have forest fires, there's a lot of C60. So C60 has been with us on a natural basis for ages, forever. So it's a molecule that nobody really thought of as being a very important molecule, except for as a lubricant. And in time, as they started doing more and more testing, and they got through the idea that they could mix C60 in water and they started mixing it with a lipid to get more effectiveness. When you started using lipids, it became safer to use, and it became much easier to use. And the tests that have been done for the last 8 to 9 years, which is mostly with lipids, have proven that there's a lot of natural benefits to C60. And the strongest thing that it does when it's mixed with a lipid is be an antioxidant.
So when we say it's 470 times more effective or stronger than vitamin C, it's stronger than just about any antioxidant we can take today, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. I mean, most people think vitamin C is the best antioxidant, but it's stronger than most antioxidants. Now, we found that right now in the industry, the way it's mixed and the way it's bonded with oil is done at 8 milligrams of carbon 60, 0.8 milligrams of carbon 60 for every 1 milliliter of olive oil. We've been able to expand from that and go all the way to 1.2 milligrams of carbon 60 per every 1 milliliter of olive oil. So at 0.8, it gives you roughly about 270 times greater function than vitamin C as far as antioxidant. At 1.2, that number is even greater.
Now, we hear a lot about antioxidants recycling antioxidants. So certain antioxidants recycle and replenish this antioxidant. Does C60 contribute to the recycling of other antioxidants?
Well, does it enhance the other antioxidants? Well, that hasn't been proven. There's a speculation from a lot of tests that have been done that it probably does enhance it. How much it enhances it varies a lot from what people eat along with it and what their diets are to go with it. But there is evidence that it does enhance it, but we can't prove that yet completely because nobody's taken a real clinical study and essentially controlled the diet of the individuals to make sure that they could test that properly.
I see a lot of the most recent research has been done on toxicology, and they have proven that it doesn't appear to have any toxic levels whatsoever, which I guess is going to now lead to more research being done willingly because they've gotten the toxicology part out of the way. Did I interpret that properly? Is that correct? That's
correct. I mean, it depends what it's mixed with, but we found that when you mix it with a lipid, with an oil, that you get more you get less toxicology. You get less. It is safer to use, okay, and it will be done a lot more in years to come. And our first clinical test that we did it on dogs, and in our first clinical tests, and it's on our website. If you go to the website and go to science, you'll see what the results were of that, and you'll see what the conclusions made by the clinical scientists who were involved. And the conclusion was that it was a very safe product over an 8-week period on the dogs, which is a fairly long time. It was safe. It showed no side effects, no negative side effects. And we've been selling it now for 5 years. And in those 5 years, we've had little or no complaints about side effects. And we sold it to over 30,000 people. So that gives you an idea that it is a relatively safe. It's a relatively safe product.
Can you take too much?
Well, the side effects that we've had most complaints on is people have taken too much, and the problem is oil is oil. It's mixed with oil, and oil is oil. And if you
goes right through you,
yeah. If you don't have a diet that is based on oil, that has a lot of oil, or you don't have a history of doing that, then it's easy to take more than you think it is, and then sooner or later your gut's going to feel it and tell you about it.
Right. That makes perfect sense. I mean, if you drink coconut oil out of the jar, you'll end up in the bathroom for about 5 or 6 hours after that. So
yeah,
that makes perfect sense. Right. So
it happens a lot. You know, we did our first test with dogs, and we noticed that with dogs very quickly that if you started overdosing them with our formula Companion 60, that they would get diarrhea. It's just logical.
There's some really good research out there that shows that certain antioxidants, which appear to make it into the skin, are protective against skin cancer. The sun is an unwilling participant in the development of skin cancer in humans. We know this because it's been around for millions of years. It's actually enhanced our ability to evolve the way we have. But in today's day and age, the foods we eat make it into our skin. But antioxidants like astaxanthin, canthaxanthin, and even retinol palmitate, which has a powerful antioxidant value, have been linked to protecting the skin from getting skin cancer. Does the C60 make it into our skin like all these other things?
Yes.
So that means it should have a protective effect against skin cancer as well, if these other antioxidants do.
Yeah, it would have a protective effect against skin cancer, but the main thing that it does when it's blended right and put in a good form, the main thing that it does, it can be taken on a regular basis. It could get into the bloodstream, and it could help the immune system get stronger. As you get rid of the antioxidants in your body and get rid of the free radicals, it'll make your immune system get stronger. And the whole purpose of our products are to make the immune system stronger and let the immune system in a natural manner get rid of its problems.
So I've been using C360, your product, and I go back and forth. I use Revive, which is supposed to be for men, but I also use Rejuvenate, which is supposed to be for women. It has a little hyaluronic acid in it, so I'm guessing that's good for women's skin. And I think my skin deserves a little care too. So I take the Rejuvenate from time to time. As you can see, I've got it on my desk today.
Right.
So, I trained back yesterday, and training back for me is a very laborious workout because I move a lot of weight, heavy weight, and I train for an hour, and I train by the clock. I don't do sets and reps. I do this movement for 20 minutes, and I take minimal amounts of breaks, and then I do this movement for 15 minutes. So it's a very intense workout for me. I was supposed to train legs today. And last night when I went to sleep, and I said to Elisa, I don't know, back was such a heavy day. I don't know that I'll be able to train legs. I'm just going to play it by ear. Maybe tomorrow I'll just do some cardio and cruise. But I woke up, if I say I felt recovered, people will say, well, how do you really know you recovered? I think that I've been training for decades now. And back in the day, I trained as a power lifter, and I remember days where I dreaded the night before. I started dreading the workout tomorrow morning. I was like, oh God, I'm gonna have to go in there. This is going to be scary, because now you're talking about high risk. You're talking about moving weight that has a great potential to get injured. And your mind has to be in it. You got to be focused. You can't be thinking about this and that when you're squatting or deadlifting these types of weights. And so if I wake up in the morning and I feel like I want to train legs, to me, my body's recovered. My body's telling me, we could do this today. Let's go do it. And I went and I had a fantastic leg session today. And the only thing I've changed is I've started taking the C360, and I've been using it for about a month. Is that odd that in a month I would start to notice it? Is it placebo? What do you think?
No, it's not odd. I mean, that's normal. That's what normally occurs. I mean, what happens is when you let the body function in the way that it's supposed to, that has evolved to do that, and is not blocked by a lot of free radicals or any toxic products that you've taken, because most things that we take are considered toxic for ourselves because we haven't had enough time to evolve to get rid of those preservative chemicals, etc., out of the bloodstream in an efficient way. So if we can't get out of the bloodstream in an efficient way, it becomes somewhat toxic to the body. And so when you're carrying all these things, because of the way we live today, of all these new chemicals that have come out in the last 2 or 3 generations, most of us don't have a way to efficiently get rid of those chemicals out of our body. And what we're trying to do is develop, and we have developed, and we have patents on our products, but what we've tried to do is try to develop something that gets rid of the toxicity in your body as best as it can, and gets rid at the same time of all the free radicals. And by doing that, you're letting your immune system function without any obstacles. And by doing that, it's able to actually recover when it needs to recover. The main thing that you'll find when you take carbon 60, if you test your oxygen level in your blood, you'll notice that your oxygen level goes up because it has gotten rid of a lot of the impediments to you functioning in a natural way. And so that's the important thing. So if you got enough oxygen, especially for soft tissue, when you're trying to work out in soft tissue and build it, etc., it will just continue to get better, and it will continue to help recover faster.
So, in the idea of using this as the sole antioxidant. Is that a wise thing? Like, can I stop buying my vitamin C? Can I stop buying? Or do you say, Carl, that's not necessarily needed? If you do, should I just stop using all these other antioxidants and just focus on this?
Well, I can't say that you should stop using all these other. I can tell you what's happened to me. When we first started this company, I had a lot of arthritic symptoms because I've had rheumatoid arthritis all my life, but I've been able to exercise most of my life and been able to get to the point where my body continued to function. But as I got in my 60s, it got worse, and I couldn't really close my fists. And when we started this company, I was 68 years old, and we started by creating this product that we created for animals first, and then created for humans. And within a month, my symptoms went away. I could move all my joints very well. I could close a fist. I could do a lot of things. And that is the efforts of trying to get back to getting back to a normal, natural ability to do things. I was not taking a lot of vitamin C when I had all these problems. So for me, it was easy to go off everything else that I had that was kind of antioxidant,
right,
and just go straight to this. But everybody's different. So a lot depends on what your body's used to and how you want to start getting away from it. But yeah, most people, I recommend to them that this will give you much better effect on antioxidant than anything else you'll have. And then you'll have to make that decision as to how you feel about it.
I want to put the placard up again, just for people who are watching live and also listening to the podcast. If you go to shrnetwork.biz/revive, REVIVE, use the code SHR, you'll save 10% off site-wide. Check it out. I'm a believer. I got to tell you, I really have become a believer. I can honestly say that for a long time, I thought C60 was bullshit. And I hadn't really used any to speak of. But I thought, oh, come on, But it's really interesting to me because when you look at the studies that are being done on it now, the medical orthodoxy is starting to recognize that it's real too. And so now the last batch of studies have been, well, what are the downsides? Like, if we're going to start investing money in searching for what this is potentially good for, let's make sure there are no downsides, because you don't want to go, wow, this stuff is great, but it kills every fifth person.
Right.
And the research on toxicology shows that there's really no lethal dose. My guest earlier today said that it does accumulate. It does bioaccumulate. Is that true? It does bioaccumulate? If it does, is there a point where a maintenance dose could be taken less and less and less?
Yes, you can take less and less of the maintenance dose as time goes by. When I first started, because I had so many issues with my soft tissue, that I took 1 tablespoon to get my loading dose done. After that, I took 2 teaspoons a day, and now I'm down to less than 1 teaspoon a day, and that's taking it every day. But you can feel that in your body. You can start feeling, as your body feels better and better, you start reducing your dose slightly, and you see how much better it feels. And if it continues to go that, you do that. But even though it accumulates, it'll never accumulate to a point that you shouldn't take any, because that's within a period of time. And I find myself, sometimes I forget to take it for 3 or 4 days. I find myself that after those 4 days, some of the pain starts coming back.
Right.
And I don't like that. So it reminds me that I've got to get back and start taking some again.
Does the molecule commit suicide when it quenches any type of reactive oxygen species, any type of oxygen?
Yes, it does.
So it attaches to it, but then is it excreted then?
Yes. One of the main things is many of the reasons why people didn't believe in carbon 60 very much is because a lot of people were testing carbon 60 in the late 90s and the early 2000s, and they were doing it they were mixing it with water. And because of its effect of oxygen, you had a lot of problems with it, and it had some toxicity to it. And so a lot of people go back to the studies that were done, and that even reported on by NIH in 2007, 2008, that showed that it had some negative effects, some strong negative effects. And since the train has been to move away from water and move more towards lipids, since we've been doing lipids a lot more, and that's what we've been doing is lipids. That's what our patents are based on. We have seen no toxicity effect. We've seen slight side effects, and the side effects deal a lot with taking too much oil and stuff like that. But we have not seen any real strong negative side effects, and especially for our pet products or our animal products, we've seen no side effects there. And most of the people are very happy with all the people that we've dealt with are very happy with it. And really it comes down to the leaner the animal is, whether it's a dog or a Labrador or it's a horse, you'll see that the leaner animal benefits from it so much faster than a Labrador, for example, who's usually got a little more fat. And we see that it takes dogs that are designed to be a little fatter to weather certain things. It takes them a little longer to get used to it, to get the full effects of it. While horses that are normally leaner, you can see the effects within a week.
What types of conditions do dog owners see change when they start giving their pets C360?
Increased activity, greater mobility. As they move around, they get greater mobility. As with the enzymes that we put in the combinations that have the enzymes, in the formulations that have the enzymes we put in create a much better environment for them, because not only does it get rid of the oxidative stress, not only does it get rid of the toxicity, and believe me, there's a lot of toxicity in dog food. There's a lot of toxicity in a lot of things that they're exposed to on a consistent basis. But we also have the absorption of our enzymes is very high. We've tested it quite a few times, and it always comes back that most of those supplements that we take, that we add to this thing to make it an anti-inflammatory for the animals, that most of it gets carried right straight into the body, because the lipofullerene buffers those enzymes into the body. The one that we were the most surprised about, that we really was buffered and get into the system, was was carnosine, and we found that it really works really well, because most of it gets absorbed in the body. As soon as we put in the bottle, almost all of it gets absorbed in the body if you follow directions. If you don't, then that's a different question. And by getting absorbed in the body, you're not taking 200 milligrams when all you need is 10 milligrams a day. You're not, and all those kinds of things are things that add to the stresses that. So if you look at all our enzymes and you see the articles that we have in a science page on them, you'll understand why they're being used that way. And it not only helps rebuild the soft tissue, which is what carnosine really does do. It helps rebuild the soft tissue, but it also helps in making the body easier, the soft tissue easier to get stronger with its exercises. It kind of acts like almost a natural amino acid when it gets done. So it really helps in that process.
The rodents that live twice the normal lifespan. So the way I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, the way I understand it is we had two groups of rodents, same rodents. They were not transgenic for any predisposition. One group was given olive oil. The other group was given olive oil with the Buckminster fullerene or the C60 in it. And they were given this from the time that they were weaned until death. And the rodents that were getting the C60, they lasted 42 months, 46 months, instead of the normal 22, 24 months that all the others died. So does that mean that it's a really no life extending value to me because I'm not getting it as an infant forward? Or can I still see the benefits of maybe some additional life extension since I'm starting late in the game?
Well, I mean, I feel better today at 75 than I did at 68 when I started taking this thing. And we have all kinds of testimonials from people who say how much better they feel now than they did before, and that they feel stronger, their brain is quicker, and they can do a lot more things. So that tells me, because nobody's done a study that covers 20 years or more on humans when it comes to carbon 60. And until we get to that point that somebody can start doing that kind of study, we can't make a definitive statement. But there's obviously a lot of anecdotal statements that are made that they feel that they've lived a lot longer. They feel better. They can they can enjoy their lives more. So what we focus on, instead of saying that your life's going to be extended by so many years or so many months, we look at it more from the standpoint of enjoying your life while you're here.
Right.
You're healthier, you're stronger, and you can do a lot more things. And we think that that's as important as it is extending the life.
Last question I want to ask you. So you've been successful at actually super concentrating your olive oil with more C60 than anybody else out there at this point in time, which means that your formulation approach is different. Is this just, if I get some C60 carbon powder and throw it in olive oil, shake it up, boom, do I have the same product that you have?
No, you don't have that product. And one of the things that we've done, and when we were developing these products, and it's one of the things I insisted on we do, is that we don't sell anything until after we've finished our production process and realized how strong our production process can do before we started making products to sell. So that included getting our patents done, that included getting our clinical testing done before we sold any of the products. So we could really rely on the numbers that we were getting and what we were seeing. And so we didn't go out and just say, well, okay, we think we can sell carbon 60 with a few things and let's put them together, let's mix them, test it a little bit, then put it out in the marketplace. We didn't do that at all. We actually tested them clinically. We actually got our patents approved, and we actually then started perfecting our process so we could get better and better at it. And our fourth patent was really about perfecting that process. And we got the patents approved, and we can do it in a different manner than most other companies. We don't mix them in the same manner they do. We don't do the same things they do. We've changed our process, or we've developed our process so it can be more of a commercial process. So at some point in time, it could be all industrially made without any human interference to what we're doing. And that's what allows us to sell it at the price we do and at the concentration we do.
My diet consists of a lot of fat, and I have no problem taking a couple tablespoons of your product, and it doesn't give me any GI distress. Would you discourage me from taking that much?
No.
On a daily basis?
No, this is our dosage is recommended dosage based on the typical human, but we agree that as some people are bigger and can tolerate more, they should take more. And that's what they should be doing. It should be to their benefit. And we kind of say that. So it's really about the person and what the person does. We're not trying to change diets, although people should have healthy diets to make it even better. But we're not trying to change diets. We're just trying to add a supplement that'll make them feel better, help them with free radicals, and help them with toxicity.
I don't take it before I work out because there is some early research that was done on antioxidants and mitochondrial adaptation, that if you take an antioxidant, a powerful antioxidant, before training, whether it's weightlifting or cardiovascular training, that the modification, the desired effects to the mitochondria, which it's upregulating its capacity to generate energy and respond to the next bout of exercise, seems to diminish. So I take mine later in the day. Is there a better time to take it? Should I be taking it before bed, for instance, or anything? Any thoughts on that?
Well, based on anecdotal evidence that's been relayed to us and based on observation of all the pets and all the animals that we've been dealing with, it really is better to take it early in the morning, because later in the day sometimes may create some of them to not sleep well because they'll feel more energetic, and it'll reduce their effect. We have found that the best time to get the most effect out of the carbon 60, if you exercise every day, is really 4 to 6 hours after you've taken it, because it won't have that effect on the mitochondria that you think it'll have, and it'll be through your body at that time, and it will make you feel a lot better. So you should be able to even lift more if you do that. Now, most people don't have a day where they can take it early in the morning and exercise 4 hours later and do that. So we recommend to most people you take it at a period of time that you're going to be a little more active, so it can go through your body faster and it can start making your blood flow a little better, a lot sooner.
I'm going to try it tomorrow before I work out and see what happens. I think it's a great product. I'm very excited to be telling my audience about it. I'm also very excited to be taking it. Thanks to your generosity, and I appreciate that.
Well, you're more than welcome.
The product is called Revive or Rejuvenate. And I do have one more question: why men and women? But if you go to shrnetwork.biz/revive and use the code SHR, you'll save 10% off all the products there. Check out what they have for your pets too. I didn't even think about that, but people spend a lot of money on their pets trying to keep them, alive, basically, and vital. So give that a look at while you're there as well. Why the Rejuvenate is what? It's supposed to be better for women's skin, and then why not men? Why don't we just have
Well, it was a marketing fiasco on our part, and I have to admit that. Basically, first of all, it's 15% off and not 10% off. So
Really?
Yeah, it's 15% off. But we basically wanted to make a differentiation between men and women because we wanted to put some hyaluronic acid in there to help with the skin. And a lot of women had complained before that they wanted a product that would help their skin. So we put it in there. And so we said for men and women, because men don't normally, use a lot of
cosmetics,
hydration products for their skin.
Right.
So we put it in there just to try to make a difference because some women had complained and said that's what they wanted. But really, it's the same formula. It's safe. It's good to use. Some people like the taste of Revive better than they like the taste of Rejuvenate because of hyaluronic acid, and vice versa. So it's just there, and I think anybody can use it for either gender.
I like the product a lot. I really do. And I recommend that my audience look into it. Again, I'm sorry about that. You're right, because I modified the commercial spot to say 15% off, but I guess I didn't get that information to Natalie. So it is 15% off when you use the code SHR. And once again, the link to go to is shrnetwork.biz/revive, and the code SHR will get you 15% off. Dan, thank you so much for A, making the product, and B, being a sponsor of Superhuman Radio. I really appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate you, and we appreciate how you communicate to your people.
Well, I tell my audience all the time, if you learn one thing from this show in a given month that changes your life, the way to reward the show is to patronize the sponsors, and that's the way to do it. All right, Dan, we'll talk to you again soon, I'm sure. Take care.
Thank you, Carl. Bye.
All right, and that's it for today. We have great shows all week long. I don't know what they are. I know, but I'm doing as much as I can right now. But anyway, we have a good show tomorrow and Thursday. We're looking at a study. No, I think that's the 27th. Take that back. But we do have promising shows. Lisa Profumo books all of our guests, sets up all our shows. She makes me look smart. She just gives me all the information I need, and then I just follow her instructions. We'll see you tomorrow with more Superhuman Radio. Don't forget, share the show. Always share the show. You never know. One person's life you may change from information that they gather from this show. Take care. See you tomorrow.